Hey, welcome back. We used to say this a lot, connect the dot. But when it comes to connect lot of information and make a meaningful output or solve a problem, it gets little difficult. So in this video, I will show you how you can connect the dot and make a meaningful output or learn something new. So let's get started. I have been learning Obsidian and using Obsidian extensively for last 3.5 years. And if I were to learn Obsidian this time, this is the way I would start learning using this Obsidian Start Here series. And this is the second part of the series. If you missed the first part, you can check in the description below because in this video, we will start the same concept that we started in the last video. Okay. In the last video, we started learning Obsidian. For example, we have taken investment, how to invest. And so we started the investment. We learned that the good way to invest is to buy good companies. Then we learned the best way to buy good companies is to buy stock. Then we also learned why company gives away ownership. Okay. So in this video, we will continue from this point. Okay. So why company gives away ownership? We learn to raise money for growth, expansion, or paying debts. That's right. And one question might pop up right now is this is the reason company gives away ownership, but how stock price is decided, right? This is a valid question because if I want to invest in stock market, I need to know how stock price is decided, right? And this is the one of the question popped into my mind and we need to figure out how a stock price is decided. Okay, so we have to create a new node using this concept. So let me select the whole line, then press left square bracket twice. Did you see that? Over here, two things happened. When we pressed left square bracket, Obsidian smartly closed the right square bracket as well. That is so interesting. And on top of that, Obsidian created a new node placeholder connected with why company gives away ownership. When we are learning something new, Obsidian is actually making the whole journey smoother by automating a lot of stuff. So Obsidian is that smart, actually managing your knowledge, taking notes. And this is the first software I know which actually reduce your friction, just like the book that we have read, Atomic Habits. Okay, then let's go how stock price is decided. So before that, let me close this pen so that I can get actually better space for my graph view and note. And then press Control, then click on this note how stock price is decided. The stock price decision process is little complex. If I have to write down everything over here, it takes a bit while. So let me copy the information and paste it over here. So you see that investment bank analyze company's financial statement, industry comparison and growth potential, market condition. And based on all of this information, they come up with a stock price. Okay. So now how can I actually organize this information better way? The better way to organize is create a bulleted list. So that means I have to press dash, then press spacebar. This creates a bullet. So then same way, if I press enter over here, this creates the consecutive bullets. Okay, let me do this for other list. That means it is not that difficult to create a bulleted list in Obsidian. Okay, that is really good, right? Actually, there are many questions from this note might pop up. That is, what is financial statement? We don't know yet. So that means I can create a note placeholder for future so that I can actually identify what is financial statement. You see that it created a new node placeholder connected with how stock price is decided, that is financial statement. And if we look into the left side, there is no financial statement node created yet. This is just a placeholder. So you might ask, why did it do this way? Because inside my mind, when I'm creating such connected information or connected knowledge, I know I have a financial statement placeholder in my graph view. So when I'm reading newspaper or reading a books, if I get a reasonable information on financial statement which resonates with me, I will just open this placeholder and write down over here. So this is how we build our long-term knowledge base. Okay. And then we know how stock price is decided. And another information that might trigger your mind is, for the first time when company sells a stock, it is called IPO. What is IPO? This is a new information, right? A new term. So that means I need to know what is IPO. That's why I am creating another placeholder for IPO, selecting the word and then press left square bracket twice. So you see that it also created a IPO placeholder. Isn't it interesting, right? So that means this is the way we can actually create a connection with the information and make a complete knowledge base on a particular topic. And it also helps us refresh everything within shortest possible time. I'll get that point later. And the another question might pop up into your mind. Then, okay, fine. I know this is how stock price is decided for the first time, but I'm not going to buy a company which just started or which just listed as a public recently. I want to buy a bigger companies, established companies just like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google or Apple. Then in that case, how a stock price is decided? That is pretty simple. Supply and demand, that we know already. So if more people want to sell than buy, price goes down. Simple theory, supply based on supply and demand. This is how the stock market or everyday stock price is actually moving for all of the companies. But that is not the purpose of this video. My main purpose is to teach you how you can leverage those information to make a connected node and learn everything better. Okay. And so for that, let me create few more connection. I know I want to study on NVIDIA in future when I have time, right? So I will create another placeholder for NVIDIA just by pressing left square bracket twice. And you see it created a NVIDIA placeholder. Same goes for Microsoft, same goes for Google, and same goes for Apple. Okay. And then another interesting thing I want to show you is I also want to create a connection with stock node that I already have. So then press stock, then press left square bracket twice. Then you see it, this node created a connection with stock. How stock price is decided, it already created a connection with stock. So you might saying, I've already created a stock node. Why did I do this? The reason I do this, when I'm actually reviewing this node, if I want to review a stock node, I can just hover my mouse over here, then press Ctrl, then it also shows the content of the stock. That is really interesting. I can actually refresh this stock and connect with this information in this particular node. Okay, I know how stock price is decided, but how can I select a stock? So let me create a new node in different way using the default left side pane and create a new node. And let me actually put the node name, how to select stock. How can I select a stock, right? Press enter. Then let me actually collapse this pane. Then I will see there is actually orphan node which is not connected with any of the previous information. Okay, that's good. And then let me go back to stock node. Let me show you how you can actually connect this information with your existing node. Just press the left square bracket twice. Interesting. You see that when I press the left square bracket twice, it closed the square bracket, and on top of that, it actually brought up all of the existing node or node placeholder. Not just the node, as well as node placeholder. Let me come over here and show you. Let me bring the information again. I have note on how stock price is decided, but I do not have note on IPO. But as soon as I press left square bracket, it brought up all of the node and placeholder and showing me to select. So that means I have created an orphan node. The node name is how. You see that Obsidian is so much smart in searching, filtering information. I just pressed how, it already filtered out all of the nodes having the how word. Actually, from there, I can actually select my node. Then you see the Obsidian created a connected node with stock, how stock price is selected and made the connection. That means now I can press Ctrl and click on this node and start putting my information. So because the purpose of this video is to teach you how to leverage the potential of Obsidian, not to teach you investment on stock market, let me actually copy the information from my another node and paste over here and collapse this one. It actually depends on multiple factors, understanding business, check financial statement, valuation matrix, competitive advantage, growth potential, risk factors, investment goals. So you see, I have organized all of this information in a very rich text format, but this is just a bulleted list on top of a markdown. You see, I created nested bullet over here. Isn't it interesting? But if you go to this note and open this note in your System Explorer, you will see that this is just a plain text, just a plain text. And future proof, of course. Okay, this is how stock price is decided. Okay, then we know a lot of information on regarding the stock market and how investment works. Now, another question might pop up. Okay, fine. I'm a little bit lazy. I do not want to study all of those information and understand all of those, then figure out which stock to select. This is not actually that a simple task. I have been studying on this stock market or investment for a long time, but I do not know how to select a stock properly. It is a little bit complex process. Even it is difficult to comprehend all of the information. Then a question might pop up. Okay, what is the investment advice for lazy people? Right? This is a valid question. Investment for lazy people. Okay, you see, it created another node placeholder connected with stock, right? Okay. So the investment advice for lazy people is simple. Buy index fund. Huh. Interesting. You might ask, I'm introducing a lot of terms and information over here, whereas I was supposed to teach you only Obsidian. That's really a valid point. I understand that. Okay. Now, what is index fund? That is the actually valid question, I know. So then, based on this information, I can create a new node or node placeholder for future. What is index fund? And select it and press square bracket twice. Then, okay, that means I created a node placeholder of index fund, right? Which is connected with investment advice for lazy people over here. So similar way, let me press Control and click on this, and let me actually bring up the information that I have for index fund. So index fund is also a type of stock. I mean, it is also a type of stock, just like a regular stock. The difference is, instead of buying a single stock, you are buying a bunch of stock altogether. You want to buy a basket which has different kinds of fruits. For example, for a stock S&P 500, which actually tracks the top 500 companies inside US, and this tracks all of the company. I mean, if you buy this index fund, you are supposed to buy the big companies like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, and 497 other companies. So that means we know what is the easiest way to investment, and we know what is index fund, right? Then you might ask, okay, fine, I know what is index fund. Okay, now a question might come up into your mind. If I invest in index fund, what is the annual rate of return over here? For that, I have actually two graphs to show you. Let me actually copy the graph and paste over here. You see that this is the image I have pasted, and let me bring back the second image, and let me actually squeeze this a little bit so that you can see. And you see, this is the same image I can see on the left side pane. So that means whatever file I am pasting inside or on top of my node, all of the source information are actually saving as an original file format. This is very, very important because this is actually storing all of your original file format as it is, but it is creating a multimedia node on top of plain text format. And I will explain this concept in the later video, how you can actually create a node which has all types of file format on top of a markdown plain text, right? Okay, let me explain this information a little bit. So this graph is showing the return of the index fund from 1958 to up to 2025. And this graph is showing if you start with $1 in 1958 or 57, I forget the exact year, this is the money it will grow by this time. And from that information, we can actually estimate that annual rate of return is around 10%. And I'm not claiming that this information is completely accurate. This is just showing you what is the capability of Obsidian when it comes to creating a node, right? You can actually attach any file with your node so that you can create a complete information on any particular topic. For example, we are collecting information for the index fund. Okay, now you know a lot about stock market, right? Now I'll recap what we have learned so far, investment as well as Obsidian from our last two videos in this series. So for that, let me close this note and just keep the graph view. We started with investment. That means we started with this note. Then from investment, we learn how to buy good companies. From there, we learn we have to buy a stock. From there, we learn a lot of information, how stock price is decided. And inside stock price, we learn a lot of new terms. And from there, we learn what is the investment advice for lazy people. And from there, we learn what is index fund. And this is the easiest way to invest in stock market. And from that point, we actually came to the investment. That means we started with investment and we came to the investment. And this is the power of connected node and connected information. Whenever you are browsing a particular node, even you can actually go into the different node. And when you are actually browsing a stock, you can actually come to the index fund, and from the index fund you can come to the investment. This is how we are creating a connection of information and connecting them all together and building a knowledge base. But that is not the only advantage. Even we can browse those nodes within shortest possible time and refresh our mind about all of those concepts. And this concept is called spaced repetition. If we browse our nodes after a particular time, we are actually refreshing that information inside our head and bringing that information into our permanent memory. This way, we can actually build lifelong learning and we can actually learn any concept unintentionally. This is the power of knowledge management and building your long-term knowledge base. Okay. I think you learned how to actually learn anything by connecting information. I want to close this video at this point and I'll see you in the next video. And if you find this information valuable, don't forget to subscribe and put your thumb button into this video. And also, if you have any question, you can put down question in the description below. And don't forget to share with your friends. This is something new. Okay, thank you very much.